Welcome to Uncloseted Conversations. Even if you stumbled upon this channel by accident, you are welcome here. The stories here are from my heart, from my soul, from my pen to your ears. I hope that you will stay a little longer and open yourself to the magic of storytelling. Here I write fiction, and though not always aligning with reality, it still tugs at heartstrings. Stories are escapes and sometimes a balm to the soul. So, enjoy your time here, and if reality presses down too loud and too hard, come knock at the door, come in, take a seat, grab a coffee, and just exhale. These are veil-bound stories, and the space is free and non-judgmental. Sit back, earphones or pods in, and let's listen to another exquisite romance. A fortress of ice and sarcasm. Scene 1, guarded by experience. The thing about Sloane Devereaux is not that she is unfriendly. That would be too simple, too lazy, too kind. Sloane is careful. Care is what happens when the world teaches you repeatedly that softness is expensive. Care is the discipline of survival dressed up as composure. Over time, disappointment taught her to speak in measured tones, to keep her face neutral, her heart undisclosed. Not because she wished to be distant, but because distance had become the only place she could breathe. Loneliness sits with her often, an uninvited but familiar guest. She would never admit it. If asked, she would deflect with a raised brow and a remark sharp enough to end the conversation before it grew teeth. Sarcasm is her first language. Ice is her second. Those who fail to recognize the humor woven into her barbs mistake her for cruel. They slide off the walls she has built, never realizing the fortress was constructed not to keep others out, but to keep herself intact. In the corporate world, Sloane Devereaux is spoken of in lowered voices and careful summaries. Ruthless, meticulous, cold-hearted, merciless. None of it is entirely false. She learned early that hesitation costs money, and money, when mishandled, costs people their livelihoods. When Sloane dismantles a failing company, she does so without malice. It is business, precise, and unsentimental. By the time a deal reaches her desk, it has already endured 7 layers of scrutiny and earned the blessing of 7 department heads. Her role is not to rescue what is broken, but to decide whether it is worth preserving. DevCorp does not save ships mid-sink. It buys the wreckage and sells what still floats. Everything Sloane touches is stripped of ornamentation. No unnecessary flourishes. No indulgent emotion. Just clean lines and hard truth. It is how she survives. Scene 2, uncharacteristic hesitation. Yet tonight, survival looks suspiciously like hesitation. The contract sits unopened for the 4th time this week. 3 months. 3 months of delay from a woman known for decisions made in minutes. Sloane sets her pen down with deliberate care and rises from her chair, heels clicking softly against the polished floor as she crosses her office. The window stretches from floor to ceiling, a wall of glass framing the San Francisco Bay like a living painting. The water below glitters under the night sky, diamonds scattered by an indifferent hand. She presses her palm lightly against the glass and inhales. Exhales. Her breath fogs the window, a brief, fragile mark, proof that even she leaves evidence of her existence. The contract waits behind her, patient and dangerous. 5 years, she thinks. She removes her glasses and rubs at her eyes, her brow. Not frustration. Something heavier. Grief that never learned how to announce itself properly. She had buried this. Or so she believed. Scene 3, the call from the past. Her phone vibrates. Once, then again. The sound is small, but it detonates inside her chest. Sloane turns slowly, as though speed might fracture the moment entirely. Her gaze drops to the screen and stops. Victoria Navarro. For 3 months, Sloane had imagined this call. Rehearsed it. Dismissed it. Prepared herself to never receive it. The phone keeps buzzing. Her heart pounds, breath shallow, hands unsteady. The fortress cracks, not loudly, but enough to let something ancient slip through. She answers. Victoria. Her voice betrays her, trembling despite years of discipline. Silence stretches between them, long enough to hurt, long enough to suggest regret. Then, Sloane. Victoria's voice is cautious, as though speaking too loudly might shatter whatever fragile bridge still exists between them. 5 years collapse into a single breath. Scene 4: A love that built a life. They met at a gala neither of them wanted to attend. Victoria had laughed at something Sloane muttered under her breath, and that was all it took. Love came easily after that, reckless, hopeful, unguarded. Together, they built a life full of promise, of quiet mornings and ambitious dreams. 2 years in, they decided to start a family. Victoria carried their child. They spoke of names, of rooms painted in soft colors, of futures that felt solid beneath their feet. Then came the accident. It took more than a pregnancy. It took the scaffolding of their marriage. Grief does strange things to love. It turns it inward, sharpens it, demands someone to blame. Victoria spiraled, her pain-seeking purchase, and Sloane, always steady, always composed, became the easiest target. They held on for 4 more months, love gasping for air, until Victoria moved out. The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria rebuilt herself through work, founding a publishing company fueled by sheer will and sleepless nights. It rose quickly, then faltered. Momentum gave way to exhaustion. Vision blurred. And now Decorp had come knocking. Scene 5: The proposal. When the acquisition team brought the figures to Sloane, she did not react. She read. And reread. And waited. 3 months of restraint. 3 months of war between the woman she had become and the one she once was. Now, with Victoria on the line, Sloane understands the truth she has been avoiding. This deal is not just business. It is a reckoning. A door she thought sealed shut has opened quietly, dangerously, inviting both ruin and repair to step inside. Scene 6: Collision Theory. They meet on neutral ground. A cafe near the Embarcadero. Glass, steel, too much light. The kind of place that pretends warmth while keeping everyone on polite display. Sloane arrives first, of course. She always does. Old habits die hard, the useful ones never die at all. She chooses a table near the window and orders an espresso she will not drink. Her hands are steady. Her pulse is not. When Victoria walks in, the room does something treacherous. It remembers. She looks different. Thinner, maybe. Softer in places Sloane once knew by heart. Her hair is longer, pulled back with careless intent. She scans the room, finds Sloane, and for half a second, just half, her face betrays her. Oh. The word lands between them before Victoria ever reaches the table. Sloane, Victoria says, stopping short. Her voice is warmer than it has any right to be. Victoria. Sloane stands. The chair legs scrape too loudly. Somewhere in the cafe, a cup breaks. Of course it does. They do not hug. They orbit. Victoria gestures to the chair. May I? You don't need permission, Sloane says, then winces internally. Still sharp. Still her. Victoria sits. Good to see you haven't changed. I have, Sloane replies. I just didn't advertise. That earns a breath of a laugh, quick, disbelieving. It escapes Victoria before she can stop it, and when it does, something fragile flickers between them. Laughter. Still dangerous. A server appears. Water is poured. Menus are offered and ignored. The small talk limps in, wounded from the start. So, Victoria says finally, fingers circling the rim of her glass. Navarro Publishing. Sloane nods. Your company. Mine, Victoria confirms. And now, yours. Not yet. The pause stretches. Frustration begins its quiet work. You could have called, Victoria says. 3 months ago. Sloane meets her gaze. Does not look away. So could you. Point. Set. Match. Victoria exhales, sharp. I didn't think you'd answer. I always answer, Sloane says, then softens it. Barely. Eventually. The truth hums under the table, knocking at their knees. Victoria's smile falters. Is this business, Sloane? Or is this, she gestures vaguely between them, an autopsy? Sloane's mouth curves despite herself. If it were an autopsy, I'd already have the report. There it is, Victoria mutters. The humor. It's a coping mechanism. So is blaming you, Victoria says, too fast. The words hit. Sloane stills. The cafe noise dulls, as if someone has turned the world down a notch. For the accident? Sloane asks quietly. Victoria's eyes glisten. For everything. Truth arrives gently, then all at once. I never thought it was your fault, Victoria continues. I thought it was mine. And if I said that out loud, I don't know what would have been left of me. Sloane swallows. Once. You let me carry it. I know. Silence presses in, heavy, honest, unavoidably intimate. A couple at the next table laughs too loudly. Someone spills sugar. Life insists on continuing. I didn't come here for mercy, Victoria says. Or nostalgia. She meets Sloane's eyes. I came because I don't know how to save my company. And because when your name appeared on that proposal, I couldn't pretend you were dead anymore. Sloane finally lifts her espresso. Takes a sip. Grimaces. Cold. Some things don't survive neglect, she says. Others just wait. Victoria's voice drops. Is this you waiting to destroy me? Sloane leans forward, elbows on the table, fortress cracking in deliberate places. No. This is me trying to decide whether saving you would cost us both. They hold each other's gaze, tears unshed, laughter exhausted, frustration alive and pacing. Outside, the bay glitters, indifferent. Inside, something old and unfinished takes its first breath. Scene 7, the screws tighten. DevCorp does not believe in sentiment. The boardroom hums with restrained impatience. Glass walls, the city blurred beyond them, executives seated like chess pieces already mid-game. Sloane stands at the head of the table, posture immaculate, face carved from calm. 3 months, Richard Hale says, fingers steepled. That's not caution. That's indulgence. It's diligence, Sloane replies, voice cool as polished steel. Victoria Navarro's company is bleeding. Another board member cuts in. We acquire now, or the assets lose further value. Sloane clicks the remote. The screen fills with numbers, decline curves, debt ratios, forecasts tightening like a noose. The debt structure is more complex than projected, she says. Our rushed acquisition exposes us. Hale leans back. Or saves us money. Murmurs ripple around the table. Sloane feels it then, the shift. The patience thinning. DevCorp's tolerance for hesitation has expired. Let's get a decision by Friday, Hale says. Acquire. Strip. Or walk. Friday. Sloane inclines her head once. Understood. Inside, something fractures not loudly, but cleanly. Because walking away would destroy Victoria. And acquiring her would not be bloodless. Scene 8, private terms. Victoria chooses the place this time. Her office is smaller than Sloane's, exposed brick, tall windows streaked with rain, books everywhere. Manuscripts lie in uneven stacks, like half-finished prayers waiting to be answered. Welcome to the wreckage, Victoria says, attempting levity. Sloane steps inside, coat still on. I've seen worse. Liar. A beat, then a short, startled laugh from both of them. Familiar. Painful. They sit across from each other. No cafe buffer. No witnesses. Just history breathing between them. DevCorp wants a decision by Friday, Sloane says. Straight to it. Survival reflex. Victoria stiffens. That soon? Yes. Silence spreads, thick and heavy. And you? Victoria asks finally. What do you want? Sloane hesitates. A fatal mistake. I don't know, she admits. The words hang there, naked. Victoria studies her. You never say that. I never had the luxury before. Victoria stands and begins to pace. If DevCorp acquires us, I lose control. My authors. My people. And if we don't, Sloane says quietly, you lose everything. Victoria spins on her. You think I don't know that? Frustration sparks old, volatile. You always talk like feelings are inefficiencies, Victoria snaps. And you always pretend ignoring reality makes it kinder, Sloane fires back. The air tightens. Is this payback? Victoria demands. For leaving. Sloane's voice drops. Don't. For the baby? The word slices clean through the room. Sloane stills. Too still. That's not fair, she says, barely above a whisper. Neither was carrying the blame alone, Victoria replies, eyes shining. So maybe we're even. Mistake number 1. Sloane crosses the room in 3 strides. Too close. Heat where distance should live. Don't weaponize our grief, she says. Not like this. Victoria laughs, broken, sharp, hysterical. Grief is the only weapon I have left. Mistake number 2. Sloane reaches out. Her hand closes around Victoria's wrist. Electric. They freeze. I shouldn't, Victoria breathes. I know, Sloane says. Neither lets go. Mistake number 3. They kiss. It isn't gentle. It isn't careful. It tastes like memory and regret and 5 years of unsaid apologies colliding all at once. Victoria pulls back first, breath unsteady. This is a terrible idea. Sloane rests her forehead against Victoria's. I know. They stay there anyway. Outside, rain hammers the city. Inside, boundaries collapse, quietly, catastrophically. And somewhere beneath the wreckage, the future begins to rearrange itself. Scene 9, the cost of touch. They separate too quickly. As if the air itself has burned them. Victoria steps back first, hand still tingling where Sloane's fingers had been. She presses her palm against her own ribs, as though trying to slow her heart by force. No, she says not loudly, but firmly. No, we can't. Sloane straightens, armor snapping back into place a fraction too late. Her voice is steady, but her eyes give her away. I agree. It is a lie. A necessary one. They stand there, an arm's length apart now, the space between them heavy with everything they didn't say during the last 5 years. That shouldn't have happened, Victoria adds. It didn't, Sloane replies automatically, then stops herself. It shouldn't have. Silence. Regret moves in, not as guilt, but as fear. The kind that asks, what have we just woken up? Victoria exhales sharply. You're here because of DevCorp. Yes. And I'm here because my company is dying. Yes. And we just complicated both. Yes. A humorless laugh escapes Victoria. You always did hate inefficiencies. Sloane almost smiles. Almost. I should go, Sloane says. Before we make worse decisions. Victoria nods, but doesn't move. We crossed a line. We brushed it, Sloane corrects. Lines are only crossed when you don't step back. Victoria studies her. You stepped back. Sloane meets her gaze. I always do. That hurts more than the kiss. Sloane reaches for her coat. Her hand hesitates on the sleeve, fingers curling once, as if remembering a different life where leaving wasn't the default. At the door, she stops. This can't happen again, Sloane says. Not a request. A boundary drawn in blood. Victoria's throat tightens. Because of the deal? Because if it does, Sloane says quietly, I won't be able to tell where the decision ends and the damage begins. Victoria nods, slow and pained. Then we're aligned. Sloane opens the door. Then, mistake number 4. Victoria says softly, you still taste like winter. Sloane felt her stomach dropped. She doesn't turn around. Good night, Victoria. She leaves. Sloane doesn't go home. She walks. Blocks bleed into each other, rain soaking her hair, her coat, her composure. The city doesn't care that she just reopened a wound she never let heal. Her phone vibrates. A message from Victoria. That was a mistake. But it wasn't nothing. Sloane types. Deletes. Types again. Agreed. She stares at the word until it feels hollow. Across the city, Victoria stands alone in her office, lights off now, forehead pressed to the glass. She whispers to no one too soon. And somewhere between them, the kiss lingers, uninvited, unresolved, dangerous. Not yet. But soon. Scene 10, still married to the ghost. Sloane doesn't sleep. She stands in her apartment long after midnight, city lights bleeding through the windows, coat still on, keys still in her hand. She never turned on a lamp. She doesn't need to see the room to know what's in it. Victoria's mug is still in the cupboard. She hasn't moved it in 5 years. She hasn't moved anything in 5 years. That feels important tonight. That feels incriminating. She sets her keys down with surgical care, as if noise might summon something she's not ready to face. Her reflection in the dark glass startles her older, sharper eyes carrying too much memory. You kissed your wife, a quiet voice says. Your estranged wife. You're not divorced enough to be safe wife. Sloane exhales, slow and controlled, the way she does before making decisions that ruin lives. It was a mistake, she tells the empty room. The room does not argue. She loosens her collar, then stills, her fingers brushing the faint indentation where Victoria once used to rest her thumb when she wanted Sloane's attention. A habit. A claim. Still married. Legally. Emotionally. Catastrophically. The kiss wasn't adultery. It was worse. It was hope. She pours herself a drink she doesn't want and doesn't finish. Her phone lies face down on the counter like a loaded weapon. She doesn't touch it. Because if she does, she might confess something irreversible. She sits instead. Hands clasped. Jaw tight. You stayed, she thinks. You held the house. The silence. The wreckage. And tonight, she endangered all of it for a moment of weakness dressed up as honesty. Friday looms. DevCorp will not care that she is still married to the woman whose company they want to dissect. DevCorp will care that she hesitated. And hesitation is how empires lose faith. Sloane closes her eyes. Get it together, she orders herself. This is business. This is survival. Her heart does not report for duty. Victoria spirals in motion. She cleans first, furious, unnecessary cleaning. Papers stacked. Pens aligned. Books shoved into order they don't want. It doesn't help. The kiss plays on a loop. Not the heat. Not the hunger. The recognition. The way Sloane didn't kiss her like a stranger. The way her body remembered before her brain could interfere. Victoria sinks into her chair, breath hitching. You idiot, she whispers to herself. You left. She left, but she never filed the papers. Never signed the end. Never wanted the finality. She told herself it was grief, logistics, avoidance. Tonight, the truth arrives uninvited. She never stopped being married either. Her phone lights up again, emails from authors, cash flow warnings, deadlines screaming in polite corporate fonts. Her company is bleeding out quietly, and she is here undoing emotional sutures she barely survived the first time. This is why you don't touch her, she thinks. She ruins your equilibrium. Or maybe she reveals it. Victoria presses her fingers to her lips, still tingling, still traitorous. I'm not ready, she says aloud. Not for reconciliation. Not for loss. Not for Sloane. Tears come then, angry, frustrated, unfair. She wipes them away viciously. I can't afford you, she whispers into the dark office. Not now. Not like this. But her body remembers being chosen. And that memory is a dangerous thing. Parallel truth. Across the city, Two women sit alone, bound by a marriage neither ended, both pretending distance made it safer. It didn't. The kiss didn't break them. It reminded them what still existed. And that is the real problem. Scene 11, Friday, or the art of standing still while the blade descends. Friday arrives without drama. No thunder. No warning. Just inevitability. Sloane stands outside the DevCorp boardroom 10 minutes early, tablet tucked under her arm, spine straight, expression calibrated to perfection. She looks like the woman they expect her to be. Inside, she is a fault line. She thinks of the kiss, not the heat, not the hunger, but the moment after, when everything she had entombed cracked open and asked to be named. Pandora's box doesn't scream when it opens. It breathes. The doors slide open. The board is already seated. Richard Hale doesn't waste time. He never does. Let's proceed. Sloane takes her place at the head of the table. The screen behind her lights up automatically, figures, projections, clean, merciless lines. Victoria Navarro's company, Hale says, is no longer viable as an independent entity. The question before us is simple. Acquire, strip, or walk. Sloane nods once. Before we vote, I want to clarify something. That earns attention. She turns to the screen, not to the people. Safer that way. If DevCorp acquires Navarro Publishing under standard terms, we will recover value, but we will dismantle a functioning cultural engine. Authors will scatter. Intellectual property will be diluted. And DevCorp will profit, Hale replies calmly. Yes, Sloane agrees. Short term. Murmurs ripple. She continues, voice steady. Alternatively, a structured acquisition, one that preserves operational autonomy while stabilizing debt, will take longer to yield returns. But it will preserve value. Hale's eyebrow lifts. You're proposing sentiment. No, Sloane says. I'm proposing patience. Silence. Someone chuckles under their breath. That's new. Sloane lets that land. Then she does something dangerous. She tells the truth. I built DevCorp to survive, she says. Not to feel. The room stills. I don't make decisions emotionally. I never have. But this is not hesitation born of weakness. It's restraint born of experience. Hale leans forward. Are you compromised, Sloane? There it is. The blade glints. She meets his gaze. Does not flinch. No. Not a lie. Not the whole truth. I am precise, she continues. And precision sometimes requires us not to rush toward the sharpest outcome. The vote is called. One by one, hands lift. The numbers are close. Too close. Sloane watches them without counting, already understanding the math of power. She has built this machine too well. It no longer needs her softness, only her certainty. Hale folds his hands. The board will deliberate. Until then, this acquisition is paused. Paused. Not mercy. Not victory. A warning shot. As of today, Hale adds, maybe recused yourself from direct involvement with Navarro Publishing. The guillotine doesn't fall. It hovers. Sloane inclines her head. Understood. The meeting adjourns. As the room empties, Sloane remains seated for a moment too long. Her hands finally tremble, just once, before she stills them. DevCorp was never the thing she loved. It was the thing she built so she wouldn't have to feel how much she had lost. And now the loss has a name again. Victoria Navarro. Pandora's box is open. And nothing inside it plans to go quietly back to sleep. Scene 12, The Unintended Blow. Victoria is in her office, still surrounded by the controlled chaos of manuscripts, author notes, and half-empty coffee mugs. She's pacing, trying to stave off panic while fighting exhaustion. The kiss, the self-recrimination, the looming acquisition, they all coil inside her like a live wire. Her phone buzzes. She glances at it casually at first, expecting nothing more than a reminder or a client email. DevCorp Board Update. Acquisition Status. Navarro Publishing. Her chest tightens. She taps the message. Acquisition paused. Direct involvement recused. Vote results close. Further instructions to follow. The words hang on the screen like a guillotine blade. Victoria swallows. Something rises in her throat. This isn't a pause she asked for, it's a pause she can't control. She reads it again. Recused, she whispers. From my own company? Her hands tremble slightly, brushing over the nearest manuscript. She knocks over a pen. It rolls across the floor, forgotten. Her breath quickens. She's spiraling, heart hammering, and suddenly the room is too small, the ceiling too low, the walls closing in. The realization strikes. Sloane has survived her own pain long enough to still make decisions that affect her life. Decisions that she can't touch. Decisions that might save her company or break it completely. The rage and fear mingle. Victoria leans against the desk, palms flat, eyes glistening. You're still in control, she whispers, voice cracking. Of everything. The worst part? She knows it's true. Sloane doesn't just run DevCorp. She built it to survive loss. And now that it's paused, now that she's recused herself, Victoria feels the weight of the vacuum Sloane left behind, the void she'd been trying to fill with work and control. And worse, she remembers the kiss. Not heat, not want, but the dangerous truth it reopened. She presses her face into her hands. This wasn't supposed to happen like this, she mutters. I wasn't supposed to feel this, or see her like this. Not yet. Not while I can't do anything. The room seems to pulse with her panic. Every paper, every book, every blinking light reminds her of the precariousness of her world. Victoria knows she's spiraling, but she can't stop. She's trapped between the company she built, the woman she left but never divorced, and the heart she can't seem to protect from reopening the wound Sloane has just touched. Her phone buzzes again. She doesn't check it. She doesn't want to. The board's decision, paused or not, has shifted everything. And she knows, deep in her chest, that Pandora's box has already started spilling, and there's no lid left that can contain it. Scene 13. Collision in the eye. Victoria storms into DevCorp's building, rain streaking her coat, heels tapping an impatient rhythm on the marble floor. She doesn't know if she's angry, terrified, or desperate, but she knows she cannot wait any longer. Sloane is in her office, reviewing final numbers for the Navarro acquisition, fingers twitching over the tablet. Her calm veneer is thin. She's been holding it together by sheer force since Friday morning. The kiss, the board, Victoria's absence, all of it presses in like a weight she can't shake. The knock is sharp. Sloane looks up. Come in. Victoria opens the door before she's told again, storming in like the storm outside. Wet hair plastered to her face, determination in every line. Sloane, she says, voice low but sharp, cutting straight to the point. We need to talk. Sloane sets the tablet down slowly. Her calm doesn't falter, but the air between them tightens. We always need to talk, she says. Victoria glares. Not like this. Not under this pretensive business while everything else burns around us. The words hit. Sloane leans back, finally letting some of the armor fall. Everything else has been burning for 5 years, she says quietly. I just learned how to survive it. Victoria takes a step closer. Survive it? You built DevCorp like a fortress. You thought you could replace the hurt, the loss, the pain. But that kiss, her voice drops raw. That opened everything I thought I'd locked away. Sloane swallows. I didn't mean to open it. You didn't. Victoria spits, though her throat tightens with the same confession she refuses to say. We're still married, Sloane. You didn't leave me, I left, but you stayed. And now you're back in the room and I can't. She stops. Words fail. Hands shake. Sloane moves. Just a step. Close enough that the heat between them hums. I never stopped being in the room, Victoria, she says, voice low, deliberate. Even when you walked away. Even when I buried myself in DevCorp to survive it. Victoria blinks. Heart hammering. The storm outside presses against the glass. The one inside cannot be contained. You can't just waltz back in after 5 years, and Victoria stops herself again, trembling. Why no? Because it's never been just business, Sloane replies, letting the words land like weight. It's never just been DevCorp. It's been you. Always you. The air vibrates. Victoria's hands curl into fists. You think I don't know that? That I didn't spend every night wondering if I ruined everything by leaving? Sloane steps closer, and now there's no battlefield between them. You didn't ruin us. I just built walls around the pieces we couldn't fix. The room is too small for the gravity now. Victoria swallows, chest heaving. And that kiss. It wasn't a mistake, Sloane says, voice catching just enough. It was truth. Dangerous truth, yes, but truth nonetheless. They freeze. The rain hammers the windows. Heartbeats align in a chaotic rhythm. Then Victoria closes the distance, fists still trembling but resolve sharp. We can't. Sloane captures her hands, stopping her mid-gesture. We can't ignore it either. For a long moment, they just stand there, raw, trembling, tethered by love and grief and every unsaid word. The storm outside mirrors the one inside, and for the first time in 5 years, they are standing in it together, not alone. And nothing will be the same again. Scene 14, Heat and Strategy. The rain outside hammers harder, drumming against the windows like a call to arms. Inside, the air is thick, hot with everything they've left unsaid, all the walls cracking from the kiss, the confrontation, the shared history. Victoria paces, fists still clenched. This is it, Sloane. If DevCorp decides, Navarro Publishing is gone. Everything I've built, authors, culture, the foundation, it all dies. Sloane watches her for a long moment, calm at the core, even as the past and present collide in her chest. She steps closer, voice low but unwavering. Victoria, stop. Panic isn't a plan. We can save it. Victoria freezes. We can. Her voice trembles. You're saying there's still a way? Yes, Sloane says firmly. She moves to the tablet on her desk, flipping through projections, restructuring the numbers like a sculptor revealing the shape hidden in marble. We have options. Delayed acquisition, structured debt absorption, operational autonomy. We don't have to destroy Navarro Publishing to save value. Not if we act fast. Victoria stumbles toward her, desperation giving way to fragile hope. You mean, we actually have a choice? Sloane turns, gaze locking with hers. We always had a choice. She swallows, voice catching for the briefest moment. I buried myself in DevCorp to survive the hurt. But I never buried my responsibility to you. Victoria's chest tightens. She wants to collapse into Sloane, to admit everything, to cry, to beg, to forgive, but she stops herself. Instead, she nods, trembling. Then, let's make that choice. Now. Together. Sloane picks up the phone, dialing DevCorp's executive assistant with practiced precision. Tell Hale and the board that I'm proposing a structured acquisition plan. No immediate dismantling. Autonomy preserved. Debt restructured. We need an immediate board review. Victoria exhales, half relief, half disbelief. You really think they'll go for it? Sloane glances at her, eyes softening just enough for vulnerability to leak through the pragmatism. They'll have to. We present the plan with numbers, not emotion. But I'll admit, she says, a faint smirk tugging her lips, I built it knowing I might have to use it to protect what matters. And right now, that's Navarro Publishing. And that's you. Victoria steps closer, hands trembling slightly as she brushes her fingers against Sloane's. You never stop thinking, do you? Sloane's smirk fades, replaced by a rare, steady gaze. Not when lives are on the line. And we're not just saving numbers, Victoria. We're saving the life you've built, the dream you refused to abandon, even when I wasn't there. Silence stretches, but it's the kind of silence that's charged, full of unspoken truths and shared history. Victoria swallows. We might actually pull this off. Sloane leans back, just slightly, letting the tension ease, but not completely. We will pull this off, she corrects firmly. And after that, she lets it hang, letting the weight of the past 5 years, the kiss, and everything unsaid, linger. We can deal with us. Victoria nods slowly, a mixture of exhaustion and awe on her face. Deal with us, she echoes. Outside, the rain begins to ease, the storm receding. Inside, two women, still married, still scarred, still human, stand together, ready to take control of both business and hearts that had been fractured for too long. And for the first time in years, it feels like the future is something they might actually shape. Scene 15, DevCorp weighs the unthinkable. The boardroom is colder than usual. The morning light streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, sharp and unforgiving, slicing across polished tables and the faces of executives accustomed to certainty. Richard Hale leans back, steepling his fingers, eyes narrowing at Sloane. You're proposing something unusual, he begins carefully. Navarro Publishing will retain operational autonomy. Debt restructured. All at once. That's unprecedented. DevCorp does not usually operate this way. Sloane's hands rest lightly on the table. Calm, precise, her voice measured. I am aware. But this is not about precedent. This is about value. Navarro Publishing can thrive under these conditions. I've analyzed the numbers. The projections show not only stabilization but growth within 18 months. A murmur spreads through the room. Several executives exchange looks. One taps a pen against the table nervously. Hale's gaze sharpens. You know our methods. We acquire. We restructure. We optimize. That's the DevCorp way. You're suggesting restraint, patience. And you expect us to trust that a single company under her, not us, can succeed where we normally intervene. Sloane doesn't flinch. You've seen what I can do. I've built DevCorp from nothing. I've revived failing companies, transformed struggling ventures into market leaders, and done so with precision and zero sentimentality. I can do the same here without dismantling the company. That is my proposal. One of the younger board members leans forward, curiosity tempered with skepticism. This isn't about numbers, Sloane, she says slowly. This is about precedent and risk. We don't usually allow founders to maintain control. It's messy. It's unpredictable. Sloane meets her gaze evenly. I understand the risk. But what you consider unpredictable is exactly why it works. I am in control. I am the safeguard. Navarro Publishing's success under Victoria Navarro preserves value you would otherwise destroy. The alternative is to strip it down and absorb only partial benefit, and that is avoidable. This is the optimal path. Hale sits in silence for a long moment. The rest of the board watches Sloane like one watches a storm approach, quiet, inevitable, and dangerous. Finally, he leans forward. You're asking us to trust your judgment, Sloane. Your intuition. Precisely, Sloane replies. Calm, unwavering, with just the faintest edge of fire in her eyes. Trust my judgment and my track record. I do not fail where others expect failure. And I do not let opportunity slip away because precedent says it cannot be done. The room holds its breath. Hale exhales slowly, steepling his fingers again. Very well. We will review your projections in detail. But understand, this is not an approval. It is consideration. Sloane inclines her head once. Acknowledged. Consideration is all we need to start. And when the plan is executed, you will see that unprecedented does not mean impossible. The board adjourns. The decision is paused, but tension crackles in the air. Outside the boardroom, Sloane allows herself the briefest exhale. The board may hesitate, but she knows what she can do. Victoria's company isn't DevCorp. It's not hers. It's Victoria's world, and she will protect it, even if the world doesn't yet understand the value of letting it survive. Sloane glances at the city beyond the windows. The storm that began with a kiss has not ended. But for the first time, the tools she built to survive, the sharp precision, The ruthless intellect, the DevCorp empire, can be used not just for power or profit, but for something fragile, human, and worth saving. Scene 16. Rallying the ship. Victoria stands in the heart of Navarro Publishing's open-plan office. The scent of paper, coffee, and ambition hangs thick in the air. Authors and staff murmur anxiously, worried about deadlines, cash flow, and rumors of acquisition. Victoria's heels click sharply on the polished floor as she steps to the center. The room stills. She can feel their eyes, expectation, doubt, fear. All of it mirrors the storm in her chest. "Listen up," she begins, voice steady, carrying authority born of years building this company from scratch. "I know what you've heard. DevCorp. Acquisition. Uncertainty. I don't have to sugarcoat it. Our company is facing challenges." Murmurs ripple, but Victoria doesn't falter. "But here's the truth," she continues, eyes sweeping the room, locking on her team one by one. "We are not finished. We are not defeated. We built this company from the ground up, and no outside force will dismantle what we have created, not if we refuse to let it happen." She pulls up the structured acquisition plan from Sloan, laying it on the table, and gestures toward the charts and projections. "This isn't a standard acquisition. DevCorp recognizes that we've built something valuable, something that works. They've agreed to preserve our operations while stabilizing finances. This is our chance to protect what we love, to survive, and even to grow." A young editor raises an eyebrow. "You're saying we still have control?" Victoria nods firmly. "Yes, we do. But we can't wait for miracles. We have to fight smart, work hard, and execute every part of this plan with precision. Every deadline, every author, every project matters now more than ever." The room goes quiet. Then slowly, the tension begins to ease. People exchange glances, hope sparking where fear once lived. Victoria leans forward, voice sharp, passionate. "We are Navarro Publishing. We survived the worst, and we will survive this. I'm not just asking you to trust me, I'm asking you to trust yourselves. And together, we'll make sure this company doesn't just survive, it thrives." A round of nods. A few smiles. Determination flares. Victoria steps back, letting the momentum flow. Her chest heaves slightly, fear and excitement tangled, but she doesn't let it show. She knows Sloan is out there, orchestrating the financial and strategic precision they need. But here, in this room, she is the captain. And for the first time in a long while, she feels alive again. Scene 17. Strategy and Confession. Sloan sits across from Victoria in a small DevCorp strategy room, the noise of the city filtered through thick glass. Charts, projections, and spreadsheets litter the table, Sloan's signature precision. Every line and number is accounted for, every risk mitigated. "This is the plan," Sloan begins, voice steady, almost clinical. "We restructure Navarro Publishing's debt. We maintain operational autonomy. We stabilize cash flow, retain authors, and execute a growth strategy over 18 months. Each stage is controlled. Each stage has measurable outcomes. You follow my execution, and your company survives and thrives." Victoria leans back, eyes tracing the neat lines of the charts, but her mind isn't on numbers. It's on Sloan, on the way her voice just cut through the room like a scalpel. "And you really think this is doable?" Victoria asks, almost whispering, the weight of years in her tone. Sloan's gaze lifts. Intensity flickers in her eyes. "I don't think. I know. I've built companies from nothing. I've rebuilt failing ventures into leaders. I've done it with DevCorp. And I will do it here." "But," she lets the "but" hang. Victoria swallows. "But?" Sloan leans back, fingers steepled, voice softer now, the armor thinning just enough. "I need to know, how is it possible Navarro Publishing ended up in this predicament? You," her eyes lock on Victoria. "You built this. You've always been brilliant. You didn't fail, you struggled." Victoria exhales sharply. "Some days I did. Some days she falters, voice catching. "I couldn't. Not after everything. After us, our marriage, the accident. the unborn baby. I ran. And on the days I couldn't run, I fought just to keep going. The company, it suffered. Sloane's expression softens, just a fraction, but enough to let Victoria see it. Vic, you're good at what you do. And this situation, it doesn't define you. Not now. Not ever. We can fix it. Together. Build it back. Grow it stronger. And her voice drops lower, more intimate, more dangerous. We can build us again. A life. A future. Not just the company, Vic us. Victoria's eyes widen. Heart hammering, hope and disbelief tangled. She steps closer. Sloane, are you really saying what I think you are saying? Sloane doesn't hesitate. She leans forward, close enough for the heat of proximity to spark something unspoken. Yes, she says simply, voice steady, yet filled with feeling. I want us. I want Navarro Publishing to thrive, and I want us to build our life again. Together. Victoria's hands tremble, brushing over the edge of the table, but she doesn't reach out yet. Her voice is barely a whisper, laden with emotion. After all this, you want us? Sloane's fingers hover over hers for a fleeting second, just a hint of contact. I always wanted us. And I've spent 5 years proving I can survive anything. But now, I want to thrive with you. The room is silent except for the faint hum of the city. Both women breathe, the weight of past grief, unspoken love, and shared history pressing close. Victoria finally lets a slow, fragile smile break through. Then, we do it. Together. Sloane's smirk softens into something warmer, something intimate. Together, she confirms. And for the first time in years, both of them can imagine a future where they are not just survivors, but architects of a life, a company, and a love that endures. Scene 18, rebuilding together. The board had finally agreed. 18 months. A trial by fire. Navarro Publishing would survive, but only if they executed flawlessly. The weight of that timeline hung over them like a pendulum, but instead of fear, it sparked focus. Sloane and Victoria stood side by side in the office, blueprints, projections, and spreadsheets spread across the table. Their hands brushed occasionally, always fleeting, electric. This first quarter, Sloane said, pointing at the numbers, we stabilize cash flow. We renegotiate author contracts, prioritize the most profitable projects, and reduce overhead without sacrificing creativity. Precision. Victoria nodded, biting her lip, eyes sparkling with fire. And I'll focus on the team, motivation, morale, creative output. They need to feel the stability, the vision, the fact that Navarro Publishing isn't just surviving, we're thriving. Sloane's gaze softened briefly. You always had the instinct for that. That's why this company exists. You're brilliant, Vic. Victoria felt heat rise to her cheeks, not just from the praise, but from her, standing there, claiming partnership in every sense. And you're the one making sure it all doesn't collapse under the weight of numbers and deadlines. They both smiled, fleetingly, secretly, at each other, the kind of look that said, we've done this before, we always survive, and we always rise together. There were small moments. Late nights in the office, they share a quiet cup of coffee, the hum of fluorescent lights soft around them. Sloane's hand brushes Victoria's as she reaches for the sugar. Neither pulls away. A laugh escapes. They remember the old days, the spark, the comfort. Strategy sessions. Victoria's ideas flourish, Sloane challenges and sharpens them. Sometimes a hand lingers on a shoulder, a brush on an arm, grounding them in the present. Lunch breaks in silence. They walk along the waterfront, papers tucked under arms, shoulders brushing, breathing in sync. Words aren't necessary. Presence is enough. Small victories. When an author's project turns a profit or a critical deadline is met, Sloane catches Victoria's eye, and a shared, private grin spreads. It's not just business, it's triumph together. One evening, after the office lights dim and the last of the team leaves, Victoria leans against the table. Sloane, she whispers, voice softer than the hum of the city outside. I get it now. I see it. We're stronger together. Sloane steps closer, fingers brushing against Victoria's hand. "We've always been," she says quietly. "Every decision, every challenge, every risk, we've faced them like this. Side by side. Even when you weren't here, even when I was alone, I carried that, us." Victoria's breath catches. "And that bond, it carried the company too?" Sloane nods. "Every number, every contract, every deal, we survived them because we survived each other. And now we're back. Not just surviving, thriving. Together." They stand there for a long moment, the weight of past grief, the thrill of survival, and the electricity of rekindled love mingling around them. And in those small touches, those fleeting moments, they realize the truth, the bond that carried them through every business decision, every heartbreak, every loss is stronger than ever. And it will carry them through the next 18 months and beyond. Scene 19, Profit and Precipice. 18 months later. The office is quiet. The city lights a soft glow behind the floor-to-ceiling windows. Papers are stacked neatly, screens dimmed. Navarro Publishing's latest quarterly report sits on the table, figures glowing with success. Profit. Growth. Stability. The company is not just surviving, it is thriving. Victoria leans against the edge of Sloane's desk, hands clasped, eyes scanning the numbers. A small, tired smile tugs at her lips. "We did it," she whispers. Sloane is across from her, arms folded loosely, but her gaze is softer than usual. "We did," she agrees. Pause. "We built this together." Victoria swallows, voice barely audible. "Together, yes. But some things we didn't build. Some things we lost." Sloane's expression tightens imperceptibly. She knows what's coming, but she lets her guard fall anyway. "Vic." Victoria exhales slowly, shoulders sagging. "The accident. The baby, our child. I never really allowed myself to grieve it properly. I threw myself into work to survive the days that remembered us, our marriage, the life we were building, and I failed to protect the company in those moments. The company suffered because I was broken." Tears brim in Sloane's eyes, but she doesn't flinch. She moves toward Victoria, the space between them shrinking. "Vic, listen to me," she says, voice trembling with something unspoken for years. "We can mourn together now. That loss, it doesn't define you. It doesn't define us. It shaped us, yes. It hurt us, yes. But it also brought us back here. To this. To us." Victoria's lips quiver. She looks away briefly, catching the city lights in her tear-filled eyes. I thought I couldn't survive it. I thought I'd be empty. That life, that child, what we could have had," her voice breaks. "I still think about it every day." Sloane steps closer, gently taking Victoria's hands in hers. "I know. I think about it too. Every day. I buried myself in DevCorp not because I wanted to replace what we lost, but because I had to survive the grief. And because I wanted to be ready for a second chance. And here it is. Vic, here we are. And we can honor what we lost and still build what's ahead." Victoria leans into her, resting her forehead against Sloane's chest. "I was so afraid," she whispers. "Afraid that facing it would destroy me. Destroy us." Sloane wraps her arms around her, holding her as tightly as if she could shield her from the world. "It won't. We survived the worst. We survived ourselves. And now, we stand at the precipice of something new. A fresh start. Together. Grieving, yes, but moving forward together." Tears flow freely now. Not shameful, not solitary. Shared. Healing. Victoria lifts her face, eyes meeting Sloane's. "Do you really believe that? That we can?" "I do," Sloane says firmly. "Because we've always been stronger together, Vic. Always. And we always will be." They stand there, pressed close, letting the city lights bathe them in gold and reflection, mourning what was lost, acknowledging the pain, and yet feeling, for the first time in years, the pulse of hope, of life, of them again. On the edge of the office floor-to-ceiling window, the night stretches infinite before them, a precipice, yes, but also the start of a horizon they can walk together. Scene 20. Victory and Proposal. The celebration in full swing. Navarro Publishing's offices have been transformed, soft lights, champagne flowing, laughter echoing across the open space. Authors, editors, and staff clink glasses, toasting the first major success under Victoria's leadership and the new partnership with DevCorp. Victoria moves through the crowd, smiling, shaking hands, listening to congratulations. Her heart swells not just with pride for the company, but because she's here, present, alive in the moment, and Sloane is watching her with that quiet, intense gaze that always disarms her. Sloane approaches, blazer neatly tailored, confident as ever, yet there's a softness in her eyes that makes Victoria pause. She takes Victoria's hand, leading her away from the chatter and the clinking glasses toward a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The night air is crisp. The city sparkles beneath them, a mirror of the celebration inside. For a moment, silence hangs between them, filled with everything unspoken over the past 6 years: grief, longing, fear, and hope. Sloane turns to Victoria, voice low, deliberate. "Vic, we've rebuilt this. Navarro Publishing is thriving because we did it together. Because we finally trusted each other. And she pauses, swallowing hard, eyes shimmering. I want more than just business with you. I want us. I want to try again." Victoria blinks, heart hammering. "Try again." "Yes," Sloane continues, taking both of Victoria's hands in hers. "Come back home. Let us try again, to build something that's ours. Together. And maybe, just maybe, we can consider a family again. If you want it. If we're ready. I want that life with you, Vic. I've always wanted it." Tears spring to Victoria's eyes, but this time, they are tears of hope, relief, love that survived every test, every heartbreak, every risk. She steps closer, forehead brushing Sloane's. "You really mean that?" Sloane smiles, a mixture of determination and tenderness. "Every word. No more running. No more walls. Let's build it, Vic. All of it. Together." Victoria exhales, a laugh breaking through the tears. "Then, let's do it. Let's really try. And for the first time in years. I believe we can." Sloane pulls her close, embracing her tightly, letting the city lights and the sounds of celebration fade behind them. Two hearts, two minds, two lives finally aligned, standing at the precipice of everything they've longed for. And tonight, they are not just rebuilding a company, they are rebuilding their lives, love, and the possibility of family, hand in hand, ready to step forward together. Scene 21. Homecoming. Victoria opens the door to their now shared apartment. The familiar scent of leather, coffee, and faint lavender greets her. Her eyes sweep the room, heart clenching. Nothing has changed. The sofa cushions are slightly askew, as if someone just left for the day. Their jackets hang on the same hooks, she's neatly placed. The kitchen table is tidy. Even the soft hum of the city outside feels ordinary, yet intimate. Her gaze drifts to the dresser in the bedroom. And there, they sit. Side by side. Their wedding rings. The faint scratches on the silver, the way they lean into each other, just like they always did. Not a replacement. Not a shadow. Just waiting. Victoria stumbles back, hand to her chest, the weight of years pressing down. How did you survive this?" Her voice cracks, barely above a whisper. "How did you keep sane, with all these memories? With me gone?" Sloane stands in the doorway, calm, yet the softness in her eyes betrays the years of longing and restraint. She steps closer, voice low and steady, carrying both confession and care. "I survived because I always hoped you'd come back." She lets a pause linger, heavy with everything left unsaid. "I didn't want you to come back, to a stranger. I wanted you to return to me. To us. Just as we left it. Just as it always was between us, beneath everything." Victoria's breath catches. Tears spill freely, mingling grief and relief, love and sorrow. She takes a hesitant step forward. "All these years, you waited?" Sloane nods, reaching out, hand hovering near hers. I waited. Not because I was patient, but because I never stopped hoping. You never left my heart, Vic. Not for a single day. And I couldn't replace you, because nothing could ever be you. Victoria falters, trembling. She kneels by the dresser, lifting the rings and letting them rest in her palm. The weight is tangible. Memories of weddings, laughter, whispered promises, and quiet nights all swirl together. I can't believe you didn't. You didn't try to fill the void. Sloane kneels beside her, fingers brushing hers. I couldn't. You were too big, too important. And I wanted you to return to our home. Not someone else. To us. To the life we built, broken, yes, but still ours. Victoria lifts her gaze, eyes meeting Sloane's. The room hums with quiet intensity. I thought I was alone. I thought. You weren't, Sloane interrupts gently. You were never alone. I carried us. And now you're back. And we can build again. Everything we lost, we can still honor and still try. Together. Victoria lets herself fall into Sloane's arms, tears flowing freely. For the first time in years, the house doesn't feel empty. It doesn't feel haunted. It feels like home. And standing there, heart against heart, they know they are not just survivors. They are ready to live, love, and perhaps create a future they once thought impossible. Scene 22, coming home. The apartment is still, bathed in the soft glow of city lights filtering through sheer curtains. The air is heavy with anticipation and memory. Sloane leans against the doorway, watching Victoria move through the room as if she's always been here, yet aware that every step now carries 6 years of longing. Victoria turns, meeting Sloane's gaze. There's a flicker of uncertainty in both their eyes, careful, afraid to rush, afraid to break the fragile trust that has taken so long to rebuild. They move together slowly, hands brushing first, tentative. Fingers trace familiar lines along shoulders, arms, and backs. The warmth of touch, the electric memory of skin, hums between them. Each caress is a whispered apology, a confession, a promise. Victoria closes the distance, letting her lips meet Sloane's. It's soft at first, testing the waters, tasting home. Then a quiet fire ignites, remembered, unshakable. Hands explore paths once known, rediscovering curves, dips, and rises. They move with care, lips, hands, and hearts learning the rhythm again. There's laughter in their sighs, a tremor of nerves in their shudders, but it melts quickly into certainty. Every kiss, every touch, every whisper carries the weight of loss, the promise of now and the hope of tomorrow. Sloane's hands cup Victoria's face, tilting her head slightly, lips brushing her temple, her cheek, lingering on the curve of her jaw. Home, Sloane murmurs against her skin. You're home. Victoria closes her eyes, letting the words anchor her, letting the years of fear, grief, and absence dissolve into the warmth of this moment. I am, she whispers back, voice trembling. I'm finally home. The night unfolds slowly, tenderly, a dance of memory and rediscovery. No rush, no pressure, just the pulse of two hearts finding their rhythm, bodies speaking the language their souls never forgot. By the time the first rays of dawn filter through the curtains, they lie entwined, the weight of the past eased by the certainty of presence and the quiet promise of a life rebuilt together. Epilogue: the warmth of home. A year later, the city skyline sparkles under a crisp morning sun. Navarro Publishing has grown beyond even Victoria's ambitious dreams, authors thriving, manuscripts flying off shelves, innovations flowing. DevCorp continues to expand, precise, bold, and unstoppable, guided by Sloane's unmatched vision. Together, their professional worlds are as strong and vibrant as their personal bond. In their home, the air is filled with soft laughter. Victoria leans against the kitchen counter, a steaming mug of coffee in hand, watching Sloane cradle a tiny bundle. Leora, Sloane whispers, lips brushing the baby's forehead, you are everything we've ever dreamed of. Victoria smiles, eyes glistening, and steps closer. She is the warmth of home, she says softly, reaching to rest a hand on Sloane's, fingers intertwining with hers. Their wedding rings glint in the morning light, renewed vows shining like promises kept. Sloane looks up, catching Victoria's gaze, a tender smile breaking across her face. We did it, Vic. Every risk, every heartbreak, led us here. Together. Victoria leans into her, pressing a kiss to Sloane's temple, then to Leora's tiny hand. We survived everything. And now, her voice softens, filled with awe and gratitude. Now we have everything. Us. The family. The love. The life we always wanted. The baby coos, the city hums softly outside, and in that moment, the room feels infinite, a home built from love, resilience, and the courage to return to each other. They sit together on the couch, arms entwined, hearts full, watching their child explore the world for the first time. Their bond, tested and unbroken, radiates in every glance, every touch. And in that warmth, Sloane and Victoria know. They are not just survivors of loss, they are the architects of a life, a love, and a home that will endure. Leora's tiny fingers curl around theirs, a silent promise of the future. The warmth of home, finally realized, now lives within them and through them, in the world they built together. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.